One devastating evening reshaped everything for the family running Lizard Lick Towing. For years, American viewers had watched them as the loud, fearless crew on television who pursued trouble for a living. But hidden from the cameras was a series of dark and disturbing events that would tragically lead to the death of their son. The real horror started after officials announced that his passing was no accident. He had been singled out. The explanation behind this act would reveal a reality far from television. Between 2011 and 2014, millions of Americans watched a North Carolina family chase vehicles, avoid punches, and argue with people who had stopped paying their loans. The show, called Lizard Lick Towing, turned a small-town repossession business into a cable TV hit. Audiences loved the fights, the drama, and the oversized personalities. What they did not see was that the same family entertaining millions was falling apart in ways no editing suite could repair. The program originally aired on True TV for 4 seasons, starting February 7, 2011, and ending August 18, 2014. It began as a spin-off of another True TV show, All Worked Up, which ran from 2009 to 2011 and centered on the risky world of repossession. The network found something special in raw footage from one towing company and decided to build a series around its operators. The idea was simple. A repo crew and their relatives avoided brawls while taking cars from unwilling owners. They seized property from often furious customers while handling chaotic personal lives just as messy as their calls. The business at the heart of it all was Lizard Lick Towing and Recovery, based in the tiny town of Lizard Lick, North Carolina, a place with a fake-sounding name that was actually real. Ronnie Lee Shirley Jr. was in charge. He had started the company in 1998 with one truck, working long hours and taking any job available. By the time True TV arrived, he had built a substantial operation employing several people, and known for finishing the job no matter how angry the customer got. His wife, Amy Jane Shirley, served as vice president and was not the desk-bound type. She was a former champion powerlifter who had competed at a high level and also a licensed mortician. She could lift a car and prepare a body for burial, doing both with the same calm skill. Bobby Brantley was Ron's best friend and longtime co-worker. The story of how Bobby started at Lizard Lick was almost too perfect for TV. Ron had towed Bobby's truck after he missed payments, and Bobby worked off his debt, then never left. There was also a driver and office worker named Diane, nicknamed Big Juicy, and a mechanic called Crazy Dave. Together, they formed a crew that seemed straight out of a scripted comedy, but none of it was written. The show was found almost by chance. In late August 2008, a True TV crew sent a cameraman to Lizard Lick for just one day of filming. The network was looking for interesting people in places that might work for television. They expected a standard repo story and planned to move on. But after learning that Amy Shirley was a powerlifter, mortician, and co-owner all at once, executives realized there was more depth than expected. A True TV executive named Robin Hutt, who oversaw the show, later said the network truly fell in love with Lizard Lick. She called the Shirleys dynamic and entertaining characters, meaning it as a compliment. The show produced 91 episodes across 4 seasons, and at its peak, ratings were strong. On July 30, 2012, Lizard Lick Towing drew 2.4 million viewers in one night, a huge number for a basic cable reality show about towing. Even more, it ranked as the #1 entertainment program on basic cable in the 10 p.m. slot among adults aged 18 to 49. Compared to the prior year, the show delivered triple-digit growth in its time slot among key adult and male demographics. That episode had a median audience age of 38, 6 years younger than True TV's usual performance in the same slot. The show was bringing in younger viewers, which made the network very happy. All good things eventually end. Lizard Lick Towing was canceled after its 4th season, with the finale airing on August 18, 2014. The network never gave a reason, and the Shirleys moved on as best they could. The show had made them famous within the niche world of reality TV fans. But fame is a complicated gift, and it does not come with a receipt. Behind the cameras, while fights and repossessions played out for millions, the Shirley family dealt with struggles the public never saw. The same chaotic energy that worked for television also created a difficult home life. The same arguments fans found amusing were real disputes between real people who had to live together after filming stopped. And in the middle of that chaos were children, young people who never asked to be on TV but were part of the package. The tragic story of what happened to one of those children would eventually force the world to see Lizard lick towing in a completely different light. For 4 seasons, viewers watched the Shirleys chase cars and argue with angry customers, and most believed it was real. But the truth was more complicated. The show was what the industry calls scripted reality. The fights were real enough, but the situations were often manufactured. Cameras captured genuine emotions, but those emotions were usually provoked by producers needing a good scene. While the public laughed at the drama, the Shirley family handled real problems unrelated to television. Critics and viewers widely agreed that Lizard Lick Towing was not a true reality show. It featured staged scenarios and manufactured drama, and anyone watching closely could see the seams. In later seasons, the show moved away from actual repo work into soap opera storytelling. One storyline had Bobby Brantley starting a rival company called Get Lick Towing. The name was obviously a play on Lizard Lick, and the rivalry was clearly made up, but the actors played their parts well, and audiences kept watching. Some plots were even more dramatic. An episode involved Amy going missing, and another had one of the Shirley children wandering into the woods. These were not real emergencies, but plots written to keep viewers tuning in. The children were never in danger, and the searches were not frantic, but the show presented them as real, and many fans never knew the difference. The line between reality and fiction grew harder to trace after the show ended. On October 16, 2014, just 2 months after the finale, Ronnie Shirley got into a physical fight that left him wounded in Wendell, North Carolina, near the Lizard Lick compound. The incident was not filmed and never appeared on any episode. It was a separate real-world event after the cameras stopped. Ronnie was injured in the arm during a family dispute, not a repo-related confrontation. His injuries needed medical attention, but were not life-threatening. A man named Joshua David Lear was arrested and charged. The details of what caused the altercation were never fully made public, and the family asked for privacy. The incident woke up fans who had assumed everything about Lizard Lick Towing was staged. The show had made violence look like entertainment, fistfights, and threats presented as comedy. But when Ronnie was hurt by someone he knew, the violence was no longer funny, and it left a scar no camera crew could edit out. The truth is, the show's drama was not entirely fake. Some of it came from real tensions that existed long before true TV arrived. A Season 2 storyline involved Ron and Amy's business being threatened by a rival tow operation. And while the details were exaggerated, the competition was real. After the show ended, fans debated whether a rival could legally use a logo called Get Licked Towing given its similarity to Lizard Lick. That debate missed the point. The rivalry was manufactured by producers, and the legal questions were never serious. It was all part of the performance. Yet there were moments when reality broke through. Amy Shirley decided to return to competitive weightlifting during the show's run, and that decision was documented as a genuine personal goal, not a staged plot. Cameras followed her training and competing, and for once, what viewers saw was exactly what happened. Amy had been a champion powerlifter before the show, and returning to the sport mattered to her. The network found her journey compelling enough without added drama, so they let the cameras roll and stayed out of the way. Those episodes stand out because they feel different. On the night of February 17, 2022, everything changed. The young man who died was Harley Alexander Shirley, called Alex. He was 24 years old enough to be an adult, but still young enough that his parents expected decades more with him. 2 days before the shooting, Alex had lost a friend named Xavier Smith to a car crash. On that evening, Alex attended a memorial for Xavier at a residence on the 1600 block of Josephine Road in Johnston County, North Carolina. It was meant to be a sad but peaceful gathering. No one knew that before the night ended, another young person would be gone. While Alex sat in the back seat of a parked vehicle on the driver's side, a group of suspected gang members approached. Multiple shots were fired into the car, most damage concentrated in the rear where Alex sat. Prosecutors later said he was the intended target. A 20-year-old woman named Sophie Hgy sat next to Alex when the shooting started. She was not targeted, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sophie was hit twice in the back, leaving her permanently unable to walk. 3 others inside were not struck, though one had minor injuries from debris. All 3 survived physically, but the emotional toll was immense. The driver decided to leave immediately, fearing the suspects were still nearby. They drove about 3 miles north to a Sheetz gas station at the intersection of Josephine Road and NC-42 in Garner, North Carolina. The well-lit station with people around felt safer. When deputies arrived, they found Alex deceased inside the parked car. Sophie was injured beside him, conscious but unable to move her legs. Emergency responders took her to a hospital, but the spinal damage was permanent. The Johnston County District Attorney, Jason Waller, said such senseless violence would not be tolerated. He extended sympathy to both families. Assistant District Attorney Eric Hinderleiter later praised Sophie for testifying courageously at trial. The official answer was devastating. Alex was specifically targeted. The crime was not random. Sophie was not targeted. She was simply next to him. The suspects were tied to a gang. Nathan Christopher Jackson, 16 at the time, and Joshua Christopher Stewart, 17, were charged. 5 individuals total were charged, including 2 adults for accessory and obstruction. Nathan Jackson was convicted of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and 2 counts of firing into a vehicle. As a minor, he was eligible for parole after 40 years, meaning he would be in his late 50s before possible release. Joshua Stewart pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and attempted murder on September 6, 2023, agreeing to testify against Jackson. Stewart received consecutive sentences of 18 to 23 years for the crime against Alex, and nearly 12 to 15 years for the crime against Sophie. Christy Lee, Alex's mother, said the verdict brought no closure because there is no closure when you bury your child. She still says goodnight to an empty bedroom and texts his phone. Ronnie Shirley Jr. spoke of forgiveness, saying it was necessary no matter what. Jean Hgy, Sophie's mother, warned young people that split-second crimes change lives forever. As of 2025, Sophie remains paralyzed from the waist down, in pain daily, hospitalized for 3 months in the past year alone. Ronnie and Amy have returned to work at Lizard Lick Towing, but the cameras and fame are gone. Nathan Jackson and Joshua Stewart are incarcerated. A 5th suspect has never been publicly identified, and as of December 2024, detectives are still searching. Lizard Lick Towing made the Shirleys famous, but fame could not protect them from that February night. All that remains is the memory of a boy who loved his family and friends, and a community determined that his death not be meaningless.